Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And we are talking about a friend of the Aaron Torres pod, a guy that frankly made a lot of headlines over the last couple days for saying stuff that he said on this pod 2 years in a row. We had Will Wade on before the NCAA tournament last year. We had him on a few weeks ago on this show, and he made some headlines on Wednesday at media availability when he basically said, yeah, I've talked to NC State, but we keep it transparent. We keep it with the players. You know, I'm going to help them if they want to get in the portal, all of that. It's about the players. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. Then, of course, you know, midway through, I think they had an open practice. It leaks that he has actually verbally agreed to the NC State coaching job. We will get to that in a minute. But I bring it up because our buddy Will Wade, the big question coming in, he may be going to NC State. He's probably going to NC State. From my understanding, I don't think he's signed anything. So NC State, you better get on the horn and make sure that happens. But I just bring it up because the big question coming into today was you know, what the heck is going to happen with Will Wade? How is the team going to play down to its competition? Are they going to struggle? Is this going to be a distraction? Yeah, I would say that it was not, as Will Wade and McNeese pull off what, as we're recording, was the biggest upset of the day. We'll see what happens in Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. But I just bring it up because Will Wade and the McNeese Cowboys, they call them the Bayou Bandits. They get the win over Clemson. Unbelievable game in this one as they get the victory. Final score in this one was 69-67. Crazy, crazy, crazy game. How about this? You know this game was crazy. McNeese was up 33-13 at the half. Okay. First of all, let me say this. You know, listen, we've obviously covered them and followed them a little bit more closely than most people. But I think the thing that stood out right away, McNeese, just as athletic, just as skilled as Clemson. But producer Matt, we'll get to the tweets in a second, but just as skilled, just as athletic as Clemson. They're up 31-13 at the half. They were up by 24 in the second half. They blow this huge lead and they still win. But again, my takeaway was, yeah, they were the better team from start to finish. And yes, they got nervous down the stretch and they almost gave it away, but there was no doubt they were the better team. And as a matter of fact, I'll say this, you know, sometimes you just get lucky and sometimes people remind you of stuff. When McNeese put together its roster last spring, they got a commitment from Kadir Copeland in May. And I put out this tweet. Producer Matt, if you have it, you can go ahead and pop it up right now. So Kadir Copeland committed to McNeese on May 8th, 2024. I tweeted, quote, Will Wade is absurd. His roster at McNeese would legit finish in like third place in the ACC next year. Yeah, ACC fans were not happy. Producer Matt, let's get to some of the responses to that tweet back in the day. Let's see here. What do we got? We got Lachlan McLean, who I think hosts a radio show in Louisville. Tell me you don't know college basketball without telling me you don't know college basketball. First of all, that's the JJ Redick line. Lachlan, love you. You've always been nice to me besides this tweet. Yeah, you got to take the L. L's down in this case. L's down in this case because, yeah, I think I knew what I was talking about. What about the next tweet, producer Matt? John Mitchell, buddy, you don't know ball. Just time to clarify that before you tweet something like this because, yeah, I said McNeese would finish in third place in the ACC. What about the third one? From the FQ North Carolina, a Tar Heels account, McNeese wouldn't finish higher than 14th place in the ACC. Well, it turns out, yeah, they would. One. Two, when I said they would be like the third best team in the ACC, I might have undersold it because Clemson was the second best team in the ACC, maybe tied for second. Yeah, McNeese beat them, and it wasn't even close. So this was an incredible win. This was an incredible moment. I got a few takes. First of all, let me say this. I've said Will Wade, I've said this to Will Wade's face on this show. I don't know if there's ever been a person whose individual brand has been more publicly redefined than Will Wade, okay? You ask anybody about Will Wade 3 years ago. he was the, big ass offer guy, huge ass offer, whatever he said on the wiretap. And I said, look, I have a lot of thoughts on that. One, I didn't care that people were paying people in the pre-NIL era. Everybody was paying everybody. I think I know some of the details around it. He was helping poor kids that needed money. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get mad about it. It was against the rules. LSU had to do what they had to do, but he was the strong ass offer guy, right? And then he goes to McNeese, wins 30 games last year, and you could feel the tenor of Will Wade changing. Like, people were like, oh, well, he's not just recruiting 5 stars to a place that doesn't usually get 5 stars. He's clearly not just dropping bags. And even if he is, he's, everybody can do it now. And he's doing it at McNeese freaking State. And so when you win 30 games at McNeese State, you go to the tournament. I think it was the first time they had been to the tournament since 2002. I know this year was the first year they won it. I think it was the first year they had been to the tournament. Nobody's saying, oh, he's the strong ass offer guy. They're like, oh, that dude can coach. And then this year he did it again, and he became the hot name in the transfer portal, and so, or a hot name in the coaching carousel. And to me, that was the amazing part, was that this is a guy that 2-3 years ago, oh my goodness, he just pays players. He stink. No. This guy can coach his butt off, and I think everybody saw it on Thursday afternoon. And a couple things before we go on. One, first of all, I want to say this about Will Wade, and he talked about it on the show 2 years ago, not so much this year. I don't think people understand the impact that he had on that Lake Charles community. I'm going to get a little serious for a second. Lake Charles was hit by back-to-back hurricanes in 2020 and 2021. So 2 straight years they got pounded by hurricanes, and the city was really pretty devastated. Population obviously dwindled. Enrollment at McNeese went really down. And this McNeese basketball run the last 2 years has really revitalized the town and the community. I don't know all the numbers, all the demographics, but what I can tell you is enrollment is starting to tick back up. Population is starting to stabilize. And, I've been to Lake Charles. It's a beautiful area. Now, I'll be honest, I mostly went to the casinos, but doesn't change the fact that when I was there, everybody was nice. Everybody was friendly, good people, all of that. And I don't think people understand the impact that Will Wade and McNeese success in basketball has had on that community and that university. And so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for that university. And finally, I'll say this. I'm sort of happy for NC State. Now, I'll say this. I think we haven't been on air since that news broke. I'm telling you, my understanding is he has not signed anything at NC State yet. So I'll just be real. I'm just going to keep it transparent. This did not come from Will Wade, by the way. I have not talked to him since he was on the pod, so I'm not, whatever. I'm telling you, this was pretty good information about 2 or 3 days ago. By about Friday, it was well known. He had NC State if he wanted it. And there were reports that, not reports, there was talk that he was kind of waiting to see, does Texas open up? Because if Texas was available, that's a job that obviously I think he would be more interested in, going back to the SEC, great NIL, etc. And so I bring it up because when the NC State stuff broke on, Wednesday afternoon, I noticed it came from the NC State side. It did not come from Will Wade's side. And I saw Jeff Goodman confirm what I've seen throughout, what I've heard is that nothing is officially signed. So one, if I'm NC State's AD, I'm getting on a plane with a contract tonight, and I'm not standing outside the hotel with a boombox until Will Wade comes out and until Will Wade signs a contract. But 2, let's work under the assumption that Will Wade goes to NC State. Listen, we talked about it when Will Wade was hired, is this was the one guy. NC State has not scared people in the ACC for a long time. Will Wade was the one guy that nobody wanted to see that. Even John Shire, with all the success that Duke has had, doesn't want Will Wade in that league. Hubert Davis, as he's fighting for his job, certainly doesn't want Will Wade in that league, let alone everybody else who is, struggling right now outside of maybe Louisville and Clemson. Because Will Wade is a winner, and Will Wade is going to recruit his butt off. And I'm telling you right now, listen, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I think part of the reason Will Wade was interested in NC State, the entry point is so low going into that league right now that it's like the ACC kind of stinks. And he's going to come in, and assuming NC State gets this done, he is going to have a ton of NIL money, and he is going to recruit his butt off. If he can put a team at McNeese on the court that was flat out better than Clemson, Imagine what he could do at NC State. And so I'm so excited to see. I'm so excited for the NC State fan base. I hope the AD can get it done here in the next day or so. And by the way, maybe my sourcing is wrong. I don't think it is, but I'm hoping it's wrong for NC State's sake. I can't imagine seeing today and then not getting him after it's all said and done. But it's an incredible revival for him. I love the way he approaches things. He talked about the candor and honesty. He talked about the fact that his players wouldn't be impacted. By the way, I saw he was on with Field of 68. I didn't even ask him on today. I probably should have. But I bring it up because he told the Field of 68, he's like, listen, people talk about me at NC State. He's like, well, guess what? All my guys, their DMs are blowing up right now. I know it, and I'm happy for them as well. So Will Wade, awesome story. But ACC, you were put on high alert today. This ain't the strong-ass offer guy. This is a dude that can recruit his butt off, that can win, and can coach when he gets players. By the way, last thought. When we had him on the show a few weeks ago, he talked about the fact that, hey, listen, having NIL is great, but if you don't have the relationships to get players, none of it matters. He has those relationships. He actually mentioned, I love, I might have to get a few drinks in him at the Final Four and ask him for some details, but he said there are schools that had money that they couldn't give away. In other words, they had money raised, but the staff didn't have the relationships to actually close on players. So I just bring it up because I am so excited for this guy in the ACC and so excited to see where this all goes.